Now I gotta ride or die.
So guys, welcome back to the channel. When was the last time you saw one of these? We're going to take it out for a drive. This budget 4x4 build is something that I love bringing to the channel. I love bringing stuff that is a vehicle that's full outside of the box, and that is just a cheap bit of fun. But if you like today's video, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel for more car content. But onwards, maybe not just some B-roads today, but some roads and some slight hilly off-road bits. So, 1996 Vauxhall Frontera. Apparently, according to the internet, there is like 3 or 4 of these left. A short wheelbase 2.5 diesel manual Frontera. They don't exist anymore. They do not exist, which is even funnier that this car has been bought for £250. Bearing in mind that was pre-COVID, this was bought, but it has been built on a budget. This is a sole budget, cheap off-road build, which is something I wanted to bring to the channel because it is very relevant to what's happening at the moment. So I feel like something like this needs to come to the internet and needs to be enjoyed with you guys and myself. So what is this? So a 2.5 litre diesel manual Frontera. They did a lot of these back in the day, but I do feel like because of rust problems, injectors, various things like that, I feel like most of these were pretty much binned off or at least scrapped or whatever at the time, and that's why there isn't any left, especially short wheelbase ones like this. Now this one looks very different to the ones you might have seen in the past because it's been turned into a pickup truck. The back has been unbolted, so the back window and top has been completely taken off, and it has been brought forward. So the rear glass you can actually see in the video here is actually the rear glass from the what would have been the tailgate, really. That has been brought forward with the wiper and the heating glass still working, wired in properly, so that still works as a physical wiper and heated rear window. Budget doesn't mean you have to cut corners on it. I feel like that's a good shout. If you are going to do a budget build, just make sure it is still proper. I mean, that's such a proper thing to do. But a custom built bulkhead, and as you can see, it has a bed now. That is the original bed, but it has been, you know, welded up and a couple of bits of silicone in there just to make sure it's waterproof, because of course this is left outside and it's, you know, taken off road and stuff. Sealed from the elements to work as a bed, and of course you can see there is a wheel and a jack in there just in case. What I'd actually like to do is show you around this vehicle at the moment, because again this is a budget build showing off exactly what's happened to this and how cheaply this has been done is absolutely key. So we've actually parked up and we are going to show you guys around the Tonka Frontera. That is something that the owner thought was funny because of course I as a child, and maybe you as a child, actually played with Tonka toys way back in the day. So this livery, this idea, this paint code again is relatively similar to a Tonka toy. That was the whole idea of this build, and I think it's really cool. So I'll just come down here. As you can see on the back end, pretty much standard. These come with standard metal bumpers, which is a shout. Bed has been created into a pickup bed with a tyre with a jack just there. And again, this rear window is actually the rear window that was here, and the back has actually just been taken off, pretty much unbolted, but then sealed properly. And as you can see, although this is used properly for its intended purpose, it's actually been welded up, actually sealed properly as much as possible to actually keep the rain out on the back of it. Also a little brush guard there so it doesn't go through the back window when of course off-roading. So another thing to point out just around here is the big expensive tyres. Again, this is the most expensive part of this build, is the open country Toyo tyres. These again are about £1,000 a set, so say £250 a tyre. Something that the owner again couldn't really cheap out on. You can get cheaper tyres, don't get me wrong, but he wanted to take this through pretty much extreme off-road bits and bobs because of, you know, how cheap the build actually was itself. He wanted to go through and actually get the most expensive part, being the content patch on the road, or you know, dirt that we're on at the moment. That was the most expensive part. Something that he made as well, this is actually a, you know, custom thing. If you are very good at welding, you could actually do this yourself. So he actually took off what was here originally and put some brush guards or tree guards on, and as you can see, they actually come out to where the wheel does, just to make sure that, you know, if you are going through anything that's small, it would actually brush past just where the wheels are, and it's obviously making it easier to get in and out. As you will see, it's actually had a 2-inch body lift and 2-inch suspension lift, so it's around 4 inches higher than when it left the factory. This has a snorkel on it, but as you can see, it's actually not for this vehicle. It's for a different Frontera, but the owner has made it work because it was, again, a relatively cheap part. Something, again, if you know, going in deep water and stuff, that's probably what you're going to want. Has a light bar on the top just in case, because, you know, going out at night, you want to make sure it's got some light on it. And as you can see, the track is actually pretty good. Although the vehicle is actually pretty small, again, a short wheelbase vehicle, it's actually got some good size to it width-wise. Also, as I was saying, around the back, the metal bumpers at the front have actually been cut and shortened just to give a bit more clearance for the wheels, again, to be used, you know, not necessarily to be taken off, but used as brush guards past bodywork and various other bits and bobs. We'll show you guys inside, because that's something just to point out. Again, this is a used vehicle. It is used properly. ST Mondeo seats. Look at that, Recaro leather seats in this Frontera. It has a massive sound system in it as well, which is really, really cool. And as you see, manual gearbox, steering wheel, pretty much everything is as it should be from the factory. And that's about it. I think this is probably one of the coolest budget builds we've had on the channel in recent years. I think it's a cool little build for anybody to have as a second, third or fourth car just to have some fun in. But let's jump back in the truck, go back down the trail, give my thoughts on this budget build. Yeah, to lift it about 300 quid, so, you know, second-hand parts pretty easy to come across. The most expensive part of this build, actually, is the tyres. They're £1,000 because they're proper off-road knobbly tyres. Not the knobbliest, don't get me wrong, but there's still something you'd want to put, not necessarily on a budget build like this, but the owner was like, if the contact patch is there and I can enjoy it and, you know, it's got the grip, then that's what you're going to need off-road. That's what we're going to do right now. We're actually going to leave the road. Now, I'm no off-roader, I'm no professional off-roader, I'll always say that, but I have been told by the owner to just take it up some byways and and go and see what this thing is about, because this is where it's going to come into its element. Stuff is falling off already, oh my god. Off the beaten track, as they would say. This is where you'll start to understand the modifications that have been done to this thing. Now, I have been told that it's not too bad off-road. There is some suspension tweaking to make sure it's got enough movement in the chassis, and because we're on a short wheelbase truck, it's actually quite easy to get this thing in and out of ruts and stuff. Obviously something a little bit longer, like, say, you know, my ML500 that we've had on the channel recently, that's actually quite hard because it's relatively long. Because this is short, it's actually a lot easier to get in and out of places, especially where we are right now is a really, really tight bit of byway. And this is something that I would probably, although I don't know my 4x4 stuff and I don't know anything to do with 4x4s and stuff, I would say that if you are after something like this, short wheelbase is probably the way to go. It's just a little bit easier to drive and get out of ruts. This thing though, visibility is fantastic, it is high, it's got the clearance. We're actually in a rut at the moment, you won't be able to see it, but there is enough lean in this, and I can position the truck absolutely perfect. There's no worries. Those £1,000 tyres, which again is the main contact patch on this vehicle, ooh, we're right on. We're literally like that. It's grabbing though, it's grabbing and wanting to get up all out of the ruts and stuff. You can actually feel it through the steering, wanting to actually take itself out of especially these ruts. As we're coming up onto a corner, there's a big rut here, so if we go into that big rut, it will actually try and pull itself out, which is such a cool thing. Something that, again, my ML doesn't do. I will say that now, you know, after being down this byway, especially in my ML at one point, I have noticed that this is a completely different experience, mainly because of the size, but because of that contact patch from those big expensive tyres. And I feel like the main reason I'm doing this video is because, you know, you guys out there, if you want to, you know, go and have some fun for a couple £100, say £1,000 budget, this could be built. It could have been built, I'm going to say, actually, could have been built for cheap. These days, maybe not as much. I mean, stuff's expensive these days, things are dear. which is a shame. Again, this was a 250 pound truck, and it has been built, yes, on a budget, but it's had some really nice bits put on it. That doesn't include the time though. The time to actually body lift and, you know, suspension lift something like this sometimes might take a lot longer than anticipated, just because of bolts, rusty bits and bobs. Because, and if you've guessed it, she's high mileage. Of course it is. 214,000 miles on this thing, and I must admit, you wouldn't even know. Also, I don't know if you guys have noticed, it's got different seats in it. Yes, these are Mondeo ST seats in it. Recaro leather Mondeo seats in a Frontera. Again, a very cheap mod, because these seats are in a relatively cheap vehicle at the moment. Pre-COVID, they were well cheap, but now these seats, you know, they are, you know, slightly going up, not crazy amounts, but it's probably the cheapest and comfortablest Recaros you're going to get yourself into. So with that, guys, I'm going to end today's video there. Thank you so much for watching. If you did like this style of video, if you like the budget series that I'm trying to bring to the channel, please leave me a comment and a like on this video. I really appreciate you guys. And again, if you could build something for cheaper, say this cost in all in £2,000 with the expensive tyres, what else could you build right now to have this much fun in? Let me know in the comments below. But thank you so much for watching. We'll see you all on the next one.